Now we're back at the bureau of the MBCC and having an interrogation ahead of us. Now that we are done with the Night of Wonders, it's time to take a look at the interrogation of Enfer. The witching hour has ended. Enfer has awakened as an S-class sinner and falls into a slumber at the same time. A week later, Enfer comes back to consciousness when the doctor confirms that Enfer's value decides to interrogate her. Information about current situation of Belfegor Museum. Witching Hour event. After the Witching Hour incident in Belfegor Museum, almost all of its exhibits were destroyed. Let's take a look. The woman in the blue dress is sitting up straight in the interrogation room. As usual, there's a smile on her face, just like the first time you met her.
It's been a while. Sorry for causing you trouble while I was asleep.
Yeah, it's fine. Not really that much of a problem. After the Witching Hour incident was resolved, having absorbed the manic power, Enfer awakened as an S-class sinner. She fell into a coma and has only come back to consciousness a few days ago. Having heard from the doctor that she's been recovering well, you decided to come and meet her. Don't worry, I was just doing my job. Okay.
Job?
Yeah. As if you would laugh about it, people have jobs, yeah.
That word makes our relationship sound quite distant.
Enfer raises her hands and gestures the distance between you and her. Sorry, this is just a standard procedure. Okay, I don't mean to make things difficult for you. Aha. Okay.
No worries. Me neither.
Much appreciated.
But I don't think you came all the way here just to say hi, Chief.
Maybe. Indeed, I didn't, but still, I'm glad to see that you're well.
It's all thanks to you.
That's good. Yep. I know this codes seem a bit rushed, but there are things I want to know too, so... If you think you can't answer these questions at this moment, we can take our time.
Go ahead, I'm not that fragile.
Submit evidence, information about current situation of Belfegor Art Museum. Yeah. Here's some information about the current situation of the Belfegor Art Museum. Although you've already absorbed the Witching Hour and I've put the shackles on you, we still haven't figured out where the Witching Hour's power came from. Enfer stares at the documents and photos you've laid out of the desk wordlessly. Her fingers touch the photos gently, and the photos, almost all the artwork displayed in Belfegor, have been crushed into pieces. I'm sorry, perhaps I shouldn't have shown you these.
That's all right. It wasn't you who broke them. Go on.
You look at Enfer and grit your teeth and continue. The power of the Witching Hour was strong enough to make a regular sinner evolve into an S-class sinner. Even though I was there, I still can't figure out the origin of this power. Its origin is unknown, the cause of evolution is unknown, and most terrifying of all, even its limit is unknown. You must know that East Side has always been prejudiced against Mania. They refuse to take charge of the cleanup work in the Belfegor Art Museum. Since we still can't fully comprehend the Witching Hour, in a sense the fear and chaos brought by it haven't come to an end yet. Ha! Enfer, I need your help. Oh god. Enfer draws back her hand, thumbing the photos and lifts her head to stare at you firmly.
I don't know.
Yeah, but...
Before you put the shackles on me, I didn't know much about the identity of a sinner. And I have no idea why the Witching Hour's power could turn me into what you refer to as an S-class. But since it could cause such an outcome, perhaps it means the Witching Hour's power is the same as a sinner's power.
Enfer props up her face and seems to be caught up in her thoughts. So you mean to say that the Witching Hour's power has the same origin as the sinner's power?
Yes, so? Where does a sinner's power come from?
A good question. Enfer looks at you with a faint yearning in her eyes. You raise your hand and gesture for her to look at the blue heart-shaped accessory on her own chest. Think Sinner's powers probably come from their own hearts.
If you're right, you're the chief, the Sinner's manager. You ought to be right.
Okay.
According to you, could it be that the witching hour's power came from my heart?
I think part of the witching hour's power came out of Parma stones from which your sculptures were made, and part of it came from the visitor's inner fear. As for the power to accept and absorb everything, awaken as an S-class sinner and defeat the witching hour, that came from your heart. Enfer gives a laugh and then falls silent again. When sinners awaken, their hearts are usually filled with some kind of thought, emotion, or desire. Does it remind you of anything? Enfer looks at you and laughs again.
Both you and I experienced the witching hour firsthand. Do you still not understand? For me, my heart has always been yearning for fear. That's the truth in people's hearts. That's the truth of the world.
Enfer taps on the photo on the desk. In the photo there's a broken sculpture.
For example, the traces of wind. Everything in this world, even the wind, leaves its traces. So, after it spreads sickness, wills, and despair all over the world, what's left is this devilish dead branch. These dead branches are all around us. That's the truth told by the wind.
As Enfer pushes the photo in her hand away and is about to tell you about the truth of fear in the next photo, she halts. The devastated sculpture in that photo is Sosia.
But Sosia seemed to be different. She's indeed a piece I created, yet she seemed to understand me better than I do. She believed that I was lost and weak. She thought my fear was not pure, and that I didn't understand myself. She thought that I've never abandoned love all this time.
Enfer frowns and recalls the words Sosia once shouted at her.
But I have abandoned love such a long time ago. I've seen how fake, how fragile, how defenseless love is. When the land cracks and dark clouds gather in the sky, only fear can keep us barely alive. How can love still possibly exist? Or perhaps I should say, how can it possibly still exist in me?
Enfer's deep in thought again. You shake your head slightly and ask her a question. Have you ever heard of that fable? The North Wind and the Sun. Enfer looks dazed for a second, then nods at you. She seems interested in your words and signals you to continue. The North Wind and the Sun have a bet on which of them can make people take off the coat they are wearing. No matter how hard the north wind blows, no matter how it raises the dust and lowers the temperature, it only makes them pull the coat tighter and tighter. Meanwhile, the sun emerges behind the clouds and shines over the land, making everyone sweet. While the passerby, wearing coats, begin to take them off.
So, you think I'm the North Wind?
No. Just want to tell you that the north wind and the whales do exist, no matter what. But they are definitely not the only things we perceive. Even as we walk along the end, there's love and sunshine. Without love, how do you create these works of art that you deem as your own children?
It's just fear.
You're lost, Enfer. In your mind, you can feel the shackles bound on Enfer. Your words have made her waver.
Yes, I am indeed a little lost. I've always thought I'm pure enough, but I can't even refute you promptly. What kind of thoughts and emotions was I having when I became a sinner? And when I created them, was there really only fear?
Enfer gives a sigh, then smiles at you.
You don't know the origin of the witching hour, so you've come to ask the witch. Surprise! Even the witch doesn't know where her power comes from.
That's okay, I can look for it with you.
Huh?
Yes, yes. You look at Enfer and give her the same smile as hers. I've said that before, wherever you go, I will stand beside you. So if you want to find out why you're lost, where your powers come from, I will go with you. Though a little surprised, Enfer accepts your kindness with a smile.
Thank you, Chief. In that case, why don't you come with me to Belphegor?
Back to the art museum.
If we want to find the source of the witching hour's power, that should be the best place to start. Who knows? I may be able to recall something from my past creations. Also, didn't you say no one dared to clean up the pieces inside? Who else would be more suited for this job than us?
That's true, yeah. Yeah, it's really true. In fact, the FSC initially wanted me and my sinners to handle this as well. Yeah, surprise. It's just that I must first confirm that my sinner won't go manic under the influence of the witching hour again. In other words, with your hand in front of Enfer. I must make sure you will obey me. Oh yeah. Ooh la la. Enfer props her chin on her palm, her eyes curving with her smile.
Am I not obedient enough, Honored Chief?
That's fun. At least she's good to talk with. Enfer too knows little about the witching hour's power, but you both are certain it is related to sinner power. Enfer wants you to visit Belphegor with her again for an investigation. And that is the first contact. Compliance increased. Nice. Let's go to the second phase. You and Enfer return to Belphegor Art Museum together to clean up the aftermath of the witching hour. Facing the shattered pieces on the floor, Enfer tells you not to feel sad about it. Only 16,000 points. Okay, that's fine. What do we have here? Cocoon-shaped item, carved from broken pieces. Sculptures made by Enfer using the fragments of Celsia, shaped like cocoon-like sculptures, with something just waiting to break out of the cocoons. Interesting. Days later, you and Enfer finally step inside the Belphegor Art Museum again. Sunlight pours in through the glass and shines evenly over the chaos in the museum. Dust and debris float in the air like lost moths struggling to find light. And there is no more voice acting. How sad. Well, this place is surely in ruins. Even without the bewildering magic, you still recognize you're in the exhibition hall where Socia was displayed. But all the other exhibits in the exhibition hall have been wrecked into pieces, not just Socia. You vaguely recall Enfer said that the works displayed at this hall are like a record of her own growth. Actually, we can leave this to the end. Don't worry, I'm not as vulnerable as you think. The heart can melt even sadness. You've seen her before. Yes, you and I both don't need to cry. That's right. Enfer puts down the tools in her hands and picks up a fragment, examining it carefully. Slipper under fear. Apparently it reminded many viewers of sleepless nights, troubled by nightmares. But I guess now it can finally have a good night's sleep. Sweeping away the debris of different materials, Enfer gathers the fragments of this piece in the corner, piling them up. This is like a home for all of the slumbering art. Under the heavy weight, you and I are both within the iron frame. The bars seem so brittle and delicate, yet impossible to break. But when the night passes, the iron frame finally snaps. Watching Enfer piecing her art together among the fragments, you suddenly feel sorry for her. You pass her a tissue and apologize to her. I'm sorry. Perhaps I was too self-absorbed with my proposal. Why would you think that? No, you treat your art like your children. Asking you to face this kind of situation directly, maybe it's kind of cruel. Didn't think it through. Enfer takes the tissue and shakes her head slightly. Then you don't have to apologize. I asked to come with you. Also, you don't need to feel sad for me. Oh, okay. Enfer comes to the platform that was used to display Socia, lifting her head and staring as if Socia is still standing there. How empty. Yeah, that's true. Even her friends who once kept her company have all become broken pieces. Enfer gently picks up a white fragment which used to be part of a small sculpture surrounding Socia, probably an eye. Do you want to repair her? Repair? These are all your favorite works, aren't they? Of course, I believe she will suddenly create something even more perfect than this in the future. But I know you love her very much. Enfer smiles and says nothing. You think she's still hesitating, so you continue. You've already resolved the witching hour, she won't be an issue. The sinners have already brought all sorts of bizarre belongings to the bureau anyway. It's only one more sculpture, I think. Nightingale won't say no. Enfer nods at you and picks up a bunch of fragments. You find that she's not repairing Socia, but carving something new with a hammer and chisel instead. You hear lots of clinks and clangs, but they don't bother you at all. You lean against the platform and listen to the sound of peacefully. It sounds like a beak knocking on the eggshell. A moment later, the sound stops. You lift your head and see Enfer propping up her face on the platform and staring down at you with a smile. I thought you fell asleep. Come and see my work, will you? She reaches out a hand to you, pulling you up like inviting you to a dance. Next to her are a few small sculptures carved with the fragments. What are these? The broken pieces have been sculpted and polished by Enfer and turned into several cocoon-like objects. But the irregular shapes make you feel like something is struggling inside them. Just some art recede you. They are one of a kind. But even you can tell that these small sculptures are indeed nothing close to Enfer's previous works. You don't know how else to console Enfer, so you pick up the small sculptures and examine them carefully. You see that in the center of each sculpture, there's a tiny heart-shaped mark. You can be more honest with me. Enfer raises her hand and taps on one of the sculpture lightly. The cocoon folds instantly. Things can't even compare to what I made 3 years ago. I don't know. I don't think she's exaggerating here. No, I'm not. Yeah, probably. For scans the empty exhibition hall, the room filled only with broken fragments. It's like an airtight prison, suffocating and heart-wrenching. It feels impossible to break free from it, no matter how hard you try. But there's nothing to be afraid of. It's how an artist should be. I don't know. As we create, we struggle, we grow, we go back to zero, and eventually we evolve into a complete form. Oh, I mean, a bit. A bit, yeah. Enfer spreads her arms, flying up the blue fabric of her dress. You feel as if you're seeing a pair of wings lined with shiny scales. As we create one work after another, we tear ourselves apart time after time. Like breaking one cocoon after another, eventually a stunningly beautiful moth is born. And she turns back and looks at you, smiling. After impressing everyone, we plunge into the flame and leave the world with a perfect residue. These artworks. Enfer hands a fragment to you. It's a piece of alabaster with pure coloration. Its sections are rough, but the outer surface is finely polished. The dented carved lines resemble a veil on the woman's body blown by the wind. A heart-shaped mark is also hidden among them. These are the cocoons artists shed off, or the marks left by a fire that destroyed everything. Even if they are completely broken, they are proof that the artist once existed. It's just that fragments tend to be forgotten by the world. That's why I want to create an unforgettable, perfect mark. The fragment is being crushed in Enfer's hand, falling through her fingers. No matter what perplexity lies ahead, I will destroy it. I believe in it. Yeah, I do as well. I think she has really the knack for it. Yeah, she is a good artist. I mean, you as well. Yeah, you're also adorable. Thank you, I guess. Sure. Always. After all, I've made the decision to crush the perplexity troubling me. Sosia's already a failure, and I'm stuck in a bottle. But it doesn't mean I will keep failing. Just like how I crushed Sosia, I will find the reason I'm weak, crush this bottle, and break the cocoon once again. No matter how much pain I will have to endure. Good mindset? That being said, if it drags out the word, making you a little nervous. If we don't start cleaning up soon, I'm afraid we can't finish before the witching hour tonight. You shrug and begin tidying the place with Enfer again. As you're working, you pay extra attention and notice that there's also a heart-shaped mark on the fragments of other works as you expected. Recall what Enfer said and suddenly realize that if an artwork is a mark left in this world by the artist, then likewise the marks on these works are also the traces the artist wanted to leave in the world. So what exactly do they mean? But this painting... You pull out several fragments from under the rubble and piece together an oil painting. You've seen this painting in the witching hour. From the strokes, you can tell this was painted when Enfer was very young. But it's not its immaturity that makes it special. This painting doesn't have that heart-shaped logo on it. Ask her directly. Holding the painting, you come next to Enfer. Oh, you found it. How nostalgic. If I guessed it right, you painted this when you were little. Yes, when I was very young, when my mother was still alive. Mother. Enfer, did you realize that there's a special mark on all of your works? Mark? Right, a heart-shaped mark. Not just the works displayed here. You pick up the cocoon-shaped sculpture on the platform and show Enfer the mark. You've unconsciously carved this mark on the pieces you casually made just now. He takes the painting and sculpture, examines them carefully for a while, then speaks again. This painting was painted when I was very young. It's a copy of a photo. No, my mother was an oil painting artist, and I learned some oil painting techniques when I was young. But ever since my mother passed away, I've almost never painted again. To organize the witching hour, I dug out all of my works, and this exhibition hall happened to be missing an oil painting. I found this painting by chance and filled the empty spot with it. But there isn't that heart-shaped mark on this painting. Enfer touches the mark on the sculpture, frowning slightly. But where did I carve this mark on it? It seems to have crept into my bones, branding this mark in the depths of my consciousness. Enfer bows her head as if wanting to burn a hole in the painting with her gaze. I left this mark on my works unconsciously, but why? And when did I... Enfer places the painting on the platform and stares at it for a moment before turning to you. I want to know what this mark really means. You left this mark unconsciously, so as you also said it was something you had been unwilling to let go of. I'm wondering, could this be the source of your perplexity? His eyes light up and she looks at you with a surprised and thrilled look on her face. And are you willing to go and search for the source with me? Before hearing your answer, Enfer grabs your hand. Come go home with me. Oh yeah, let's go. Enfer recreates a small sculpture with the fragments of her works. You find on the sculpture a tiny heart-shaped mark. Just like the one present on most of Enfer's work, but that mark is missing on the painting in the art museum painted by Enfer when she was little. Enfer seems to recall something and hopes that you can accompany her back to her home. Oh, some little mystery. Nice. Phase 3. Enfer leads you to the underground studio in her residence. Walking down the long staircase, she tells you a different story. What kind of truth is hidden in this place, housing the art of 2 generations? A sculpture made by Enfer, based on her own father, containing false fears, was named the False One by Enfer. Okay. Aha, after leaving the museum, Enfer brings you to a residence near the suburbs. The carved black marble door reminds you of the gate of hell in the museum. Oh no. Seeing you gazing at the door, Enfer guesses your thought. Scared. Relax, it doesn't have that kind of power. Enfer smiles and directs you into the depths of the residence. You pass by a poorly maintained garden. Had all of these withered flowers bloomed, they would have looked the same as the flowers in that painting. Go inside the small room behind the garden. Walk downstairs and you will find my studio. Careful, the stairs there are a little steep. Pushing open the door and taking the stairs step by step, you and Enfer gradually sink into darkness. Just as you begin to feel worried, with a snap, Enfer switches on the lamp, carved into a grimacing pixie. The pale light illuminates the path beneath your feet, and somehow you feel that it leads straight to hell. Oh, wow. But 20 years ago, this was once my father's studio too. He created countless works here, including the sculpture, the truthful one. It looks like a studio full of stories. Would you like to hear those stories that took place in its belly? Enfer is walking ahead of you. She lifts her head to look up at you while you bow your head slightly. Did you notice we're in a perfect position for a hug? What? Do you need a hug? Yes, in exchange for the stories, but not now. Hey, I mean, why not? Free hugs, always. Enfer continues, walking down and switching on the lights on the way. The blinding white lights keep extending, unraveling with the stories Enfer is telling. Though I was born into a family of artists, there was nothing artistic about the union of those two. Just like breeding pure-breed cats, when you put those 2 sets of excellent genes together, you're bound to get even more excellent genes. Enfer presses the button. White light pours down, coating her with a layer of fragile and blinding light. My mother tried to love her husband and tried to manage this home that appeared happy and artsy to outsiders. She was a master of oil painting. As soon as I learned how to walk, she taught me how to paintbrush. Finishing the last step, you fear that you've entered a spacious room. The lights are switched one after another, and you watch Enfer walk forward. As the girl before you is telling her stories, she picks up a long chisel on the workbench, swings it in the air like she's painting something, and finally lowers her hand limply, as if she spilled paint outside the canvas, and the painting has lost its meaning. But Sosia was right. What can love bring us? Eventually, she lies beneath his feet. With a clank, the long chisel is dropped on the floor. Ignoring it, Enfer walks straight to the depths of the studio, the only part of this place still drenched in darkness. Thunderstorms can bring a different kind of stimulation. He needed inspiration, needed caprice, as visceral as lightning and thunder. So he ignored her cries and pleas and ignored me, who came following the noise. Pain can root the truth, and fear can elicit inspiration. He didn't hesitate to make a sacrifice for him. Enfer glimpses at the chisel by her feet. Her reminiscing gaze is filled with an icy chill. With the clings of the chisel inside and the howling thunderstorms outside, eventually he carved a fearful expression in the depths of my mind. He also completed his masterpiece. For the first time I understood the meaning of fear and what it represented. Enfer turned to look at you. Your slightly shocked expression satisfies her. Truth and power. I thought that would be my end as well. Who would have known? Perhaps it's because he needed a witness. I was his witness who saw his breakthrough. No one could ever say he was not as good as his wife again. No one could ever mock him for not having anything to show for his work. He took everything she had given him and turned it into a sculpture. His most acclaimed work, the truthful one. The story sounds a bit different than the one you told me in Belphegor. Take a guess. Which one is true? Which one is false? As long as it's told by you, either could be true. Enfer smiles wordlessly and switches on the last light in front of her. With the light, every part of the entire studio is clearly visible. All kinds of sculpting tools are scattered everywhere, covered in dust and debris. The most unsettling sight is the white sculpture standing quietly before Enfer, the depths of the studio. It's completely white, yet it feels twisted, dark and cold. Both his facial expression and body language show that he's going through immense fear. As his witness and successor, surely I will have to create a piece that can shock the entire world, just like he did. On August 20, BR004 erupted and your father went missing. Which means he was... Inspiration always dries up quickly for someone who is totally disloyal to the world and to nature. He found me, he told me that he loved me, so I must be like my mother and sacrifice for our family, for him. But I would always remember that thunderstorm on the day. And so I also made him sacrifice for my work, and just like he did, now I own a work of art praised by everyone. You want to see it, the work that made my name. I reaches out a hand to you again. It's already sealed her fear of her father and the sculpture, then why is her hand still shaking? Okay, you go ahead and look at it with Enfer. It was an ultimate sight, inspiration mixed with fear, terror and panic. It was exploding. And that ring of red flames that once again confirmed the feeling in my heart, confirmed the purpose of the works I had created. It coughed fear in the depths of my consciousness, giving me great power. So I, who walk in hell and peep at the truth, ought to present everything I perceive. She says with fascination, as if once again reminiscing what she saw at the time. But when you finally see the sculpture clearly, can't swear it breaks out on your back. Not only because of the fear oozing out from the inside of the sculpture, but also because you recognize it. The witching hour, an illusion broke Sosia's fear, and the sculpture is the spitting image of that illusion. If the sculpture wasn't displayed in the witching hour, who was it? Of course not, I've always kept him here. But... yeah. They just turned each other's family parts into sculptures. Sosia's fantasy of fear was broken by him. That's impossible. I've already conquered it. It won't succumb to his fear anymore. Why? Through the glass shell, Enfer is glaring viciously at the sculpture she created. Her gaze passes slowly over it inch by inch, as if trying to fathom how her old self created this piece. But as soon as she sees the chest of the sculpture, she looks dazed. Why is it on here as well? You see it clearly too. On the chest of this contorted sculpture, there's a small heart-shaped dent. I see. I was already imprisoned by weakness on that rainy night. That's why I got broken by you. This is her work, a piece she believes, with which she conquered fear, and the reason why she's completely restrained by fear. Enfer lets out a low laugh. Her hands are pressed on the glass, scratching it with her layers, making an uncomfortable noise. I should be just like him. I should become even more skillful and create a perfect piece that makes people discover their inner fear. Let everyone witness what the world really looks like. But why? Why do I fear him? Why am I so weak? Why must I be restrained? The surrounding temperature is dropping suddenly. The pale light bulbs are making unpleasant electrical buzz. The sculpture inside the glass protection remains stationary, but somehow it makes you feel like it's waiting for a chance to charge at you. Shackles drop in your mind, prickling your spirits. You feel a familiar power awakening. You're not weak, and you're absolutely capable of creating a perfect piece. If the smug is your weakness, perplexity, I will help you find out the reason it exists, and we will resolve it together. Power is fluctuating. This is not a good sign, Enfer. Calm down. Enfer bows her head, as if not taking in anything you're saying. You raise your hand and are about to pull her back. Okay. In a mere moment, the glass displaced windows surrounding the sculpture shatter amid the shaking. The darting broken glass cuts your cheek, leaving a red mark. Enfer, don't give in. Your abilities are not stable enough now. Be careful. He's back. Rage, marvel. A creepy voice interrupts you. You're shocked to realize that the sculpture named Thought's One is beginning to melt like as thought. Enfer, your power is going out of control. It's starting to influence your surrounding art again. You're in a very dangerous state now. Come, give me a hand. Come on. Shut up. The white liquid suddenly hards and pierces right at you, forcing you backward and away from Enfer. And while you can't approach Enfer, the melted soft liquid wraps around her feet and begins devouring her from the bottom up. Know that you, only I know that you. You're searching for your weakness, your perplexity. Her laugh. What if makes you weak, makes you ignorant, the biggest hindrance between you and perfection. Come to your world, get rid of her. Get rid of those who make you weak. The measured sculpture is already enveloping Enfer's neck. The shackles are throbbing and warning in your mind, alerting you to pay attention to the danger before you. Enfer's power is too strong. When BR004 erupted, her power entered these artworks through her creation without her knowing. The witching hour has been completely devoured by Enfer, and the artworks in the Magic Art Museum have all been destroyed. As long as Enfer still exists, the power in those works will exist. This sculpture is connected to Enfer's perplexity and trauma. If it resonates with Enfer's uncontrolled power, it is very likely to trigger another witching hour. Enfer, answer me, don't get carried away. The outsiders, those people, what are they saying again? Don't listen to them, go create your perfection, get rid of your weakness. You've just awakened as an S-Class sinner. Perhaps you're still not capable of fully controlling this kind of power. But I can help you. Answer me. Please call. Please take on. And again. Enfer doesn't respond. She's almost been completely devoured, turning into a standing white sculpture. I hope it's not too late. Yep. Let's see what this does. Clank, yep. Seeing it try to again further, wiggling liquid on the floor once again turns into spikes and charges at you. Enfer, come on, try to hear me. The spikes' attacks are quickening and you can only do your best to dodge them while calling to Enfer, hoping she will hear. Sure you can hear me, can't you? This is just another cocoon, don't get sucked in. Even if you can only struggle, you must try to jump out, else you will fail again. The spikes hit the workbench, dust in the breeze, fly instantly, blurring your sight. Oh man. Enfer, fear should be your only power. Hey, Chief. And with the blur, you hear Enfer's voice. But the next moment, darkness overwhelms everything. You feel the shackles on your hand throbbing, gradually fusing. With the person on the other end, you know that Enfer has used her power. Not all of Enfer's artworks are destroyed. Her masterpiece, which has brought her fame, is still kept in the studio. It's her awakening of fear, as well as fear's restraint on her. When Enfer discovers the heart-shaped mark on the sculpture, the unstable power leaks again, allowing the sculpture to devour Enfer using its remaining power. Oh, come on. That's not good. Shit. Really. Profile updated, yeah. This is Enfer's consciousness. You're inside Enfer's sphere. Every lustrous and bizarre sight is a memory carved by fear. She is a troublesome fellow. But yeah, what don't you do for all of your fellow sinners? All of your prisoners. There is even no description. A stunning, slow-fluttering blue moth to a blazing flame. Wow. The thick darkness drowns everything in an instant. Just like that, the world fought silent. Enfer? In this boundless space, only vague shapes are flashing before your eyes. Strange and ceaseless. But this place feels familiar. You recognize this is Enfer's power. The fourth one is Enfer's work, and what you're seeing now is Enfer's own fear. Chief, look, I can't believe I used to be scared of these things. Suddenly hearing Enfer's voice in the dark, you look ahead, and far from you, with her hands on her back, you're staring at a glowing object resembling a screen in a cinema. Images of Enfer you've never seen are being played on a loop on it. Ah, the bee stung me, little girl. It hurts, I'm afraid of bees. World without bees, oh my god, what? That's not good. The little child sticks up her injured finger and runs into a woman's embrace with teary eyes. Petrie! It's so hard, it must have burned off my skin. Ouch. Watching the girl on the screen, push she kept filled with hot black tea away, I can't help laughing. For a child. Here's nothing more than the sting of a bee or hot tea burning your plate. The things they created are extremely childish, lively, and naive, but also so fragile that they shatter upon a mere touch, just like their creators. Enfer walks forward, even beckoning to you after a few steps. There should be even more visual engravings in the depths of the memories. Come, sit in with me. I wasn't screaming that. It knew my weakness, knew why I was lost. Let me go and find out what exactly is hidden in the deepest part of my fear and making me lost. You follow her and advance slowly, tracing the path left by Enfer, until another screen pops up before you. The screen is no longer bright, it's very dim, as if covered by heavy dark clouds. Oh, now she's looking psycho again. I recognize these clouds. Staring at the screen, Enfer murmurs. As if proving her words, thunder explodes on the screen, blinding you but still unable to light up their fears. Dad? Have you seen Mom? Mom, is she right here? Lightning flashes and thunder rolls. The sight before the god's eyes is illuminated. The warmth under her feet is not the hot water she imagined. And the smell lingering in her nose is not that of soil on a rainy day. Remember it, learn it well. The young girl is dragged close to her father's face and then dropped to the floor. Her father grabs her face, forbidding her to turn away. Only in this way can I succeed. They say that the most exhilarating inspiration lies in the space between life and death. You will have an extremely successful father and family. All of the god's senses are amplified except for her hearing. She can't hear any sound, not even her own heartbeat. She stares at the still, trembling corner of fabric before her, her entire mind blank. Go. Enfer clenches her hand, shuddering slightly. A scream rips through the silence. You turn to its source at once. The screen, the girl is shoved away, her body tumbling to the side. Her eyes widen fearfully, watching her father's chisel, falling again and again. Is this? The scene on the screen begins rewinding, going back to when the girl is shoved away. It keeps replaying the same scene endlessly. Why? Why would I see her here? This shouldn't be. Light and shade intertwine on Enfer's face. You can't make out her expression, but only hear her mumbling. Mother. Mother. Enfer calls it softly, her voice flowing toward you. Everything is still being replayed on a loop on the screen, like a curse deepening in the heart with each hit of the chisel. I recognize this person. What? Person is shoving Enfer away, that figure you've been looking at her for a while and realize She looks exactly like the person taking the final blow for Enfer in the witching hour. Know why she's here, Enfer. No, she shouldn't. From that day on, she's been taken away from my world. There's only ever been fear in my mind ever since. Leave that mark unconsciously because she's branded love in the depths of your consciousness. That's why you've always feared love, Enfer. This is your source of love. Enfer lifts her head slowly and stares at you with her wide eyes, as shocked as the girl on the screen. Source of love? Yes, this is the love left in you all along. The love you haven't abandoned all this time. The surrounding darkness is stirring, and the terrifying voice speaks again, enveloping both of you in the center. Because of her, because of the so-called love, you're lost and treating water. I am because of her, redemption her love. That's why I'm weak. Yes. You've witnessed it. You must be able to inherit it. Pure fear and terror of mankind. Only with them can you create the most perfect peace. You need no love. All you need is fear, fright, wails. Get rid of her. Chop her up. Give up. Forget. Abandon. You know what to do. The darkness under your feet begins stirring once again. Transforms into a melted liquid, pouring in like asphalt. Enfer, don't listen to it. As soon as you notice something's wrong, you begin sprinting toward Enfer, but no matter how fast you run, the distance between you doesn't seem to be shortening at all. These memories are planted deep in your consciousness. The love you've been given is hidden in the depths of your consciousness. Do you really want to erase them? This thing, this so-called erasure, is no solution to your perplexity and weakness at all. You're only running away. You have to face it. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. There's no fear in you, no truth in you. You don't deserve to. You should not and cannot exist here. Get away from her. Get away from me. Get away from her. The fuck is he going on about? Your words seem to have crossed the false one and screaming, stirring up the tsunami like black slits to charge at you. It turns into one spike after another, clanking and clanking, as rip the space apart like countless black chisels. You are the one who should leave. Enfer, this is your mind, your consciousness. All of your power comes from here, doesn't it? The power is restrained by my weakness. Don't listen to its nonsense. Pure fear can grant you immense power to go forward, but it can't get you out of the abyss. It will only turn you into part of it. Moth doesn't break the cocoon to purify herself. The intricate patterns and colors are her stunning features too. You said she would burn in the flame, but who can say for sure that a moth only has fear in the heart when she plunges into the flame? Enfer shudders and turns around to look at you silently, her eyes filled with an inquisitive light. Maybe she lost the flame, and that's why she plunges into it unwaveringly, despite her fear. She lost the flame. There isn't only fear and power, there's love too, right? Yes. Don't run away from love, Enfer. Falsum is angered again, its throat is rumbling, like thunder brewing in the dark clouds. Controlling those black spikes, it engulfs Enfer completely by turning the spikes into black needles, raining upon you. Yes, a mystical timing. I guess I can only bet everything on this. Turn around and look at Enfer, who's been completely devoured not far away. The red shackles on your hand groans, put out like foams. Black rain pours down. Stop. You don't deserve to touch her yet. The black needle soared a few centimeters from you, unable to move. You glance at the shackles, but they're still an inch away from reaching your sinner. That's right, this place is my mark, my consciousness. Everything here should serve me. The colors in the darkness are stirring anxiously, as if chased by immense fear and eager to escape from this place. You see the black liquid enveloping Enfer being struggling. Each movement obviously takes a toll on it, but it refuses to stop, until the small hole gradually opens up in its chest. Soon a pair of left hands reach out from the hole, grip the terrifying black substance, and rip it apart vehemently. You thought you could trap me with just this. The blue figure emerges from the thick black cocoon. She lifts her head proudly and gazes at the shadows, filling her consciousness. Her gaze reminds you of the person who broke open the gate of hell before you, the witching hour. Lofty and arrogant. Raise above my own perplexity and weakness. Then I will only become like you, become a sculpture that will eventually be forgotten. A century later, slumbering in a darkened basement, eternally. And finally turn into ashes and vanish. Enfer raises her hands and grips her weapons, the blue hammer and chisel. She makes her way to you, step by step, showered under black needles with you. I named you false because everything about you was your own illusion. You were trapped by your own falsehoods. The one who can see the truth is you. Impossible. Impossible. She's made you weak. She's kept you in hell. You've always thought that. I know it. Enfer raises her chisel and aims it at the point in the air, smiling. Yes, she gives me no choice but to walk in hell, but isn't that my favorite place? Hell? I am your witness, but definitely not your successor. If you laugh, fear the hell that laugh will eventually bring you, so you don't want to face it. But I am different. Holding up the blue hammer, Enfer slams it hard on the chisel, making a loud clank when it hits the spot in the air. The black color peels off bit by bit to reveal a heart-shaped mark, the mark present on every one of Enfer's works. It's all thanks to love that I can survive in this living hell. And even in a world like this, someone has taught me that, just like terror, love can become my power too. If it becomes next to you and helps you up, she lets you hold the chisel with her to aim at the heart-shaped mark. You will love fear, so I will not fear love. I will carve through it, let love become part of my power so I can keep on creating, tearing and reincarnating. Until the most perfect artwork is created. Looks at you as she speaks. Cast the shackles, chief. Aww, how sweet. I will break the cocoon with you. That's very nice. That is too white. It's too bright. Oh, my eyes. Yikes. Red and blue light outshines everything in the consciousness, devouring darkness and chasing it away completely. Under the light, you see a vibrantly blue moth struggle free from a black cocoon, spreading its wings in the air. Wings flashing a pure light, it flutters and flies off to somewhere far away. Hell may be its destination, but this time you're certain she isn't only accompanied by fear. Love is a redemption and a curse, but above all it is her power. Love allows her to walk with fear and embrace the blazing flames.